It says we're live now. The recording's ended. I do see some questions popping up in the chat box, so maybe we could start with those and then people can come in live. But one of the first questions was what fungicide is being recommended post-pruning?
Yeah, so I did answer that in the chat box. I don't know if I sent it out to everybody. So the Southern Region IPM Guide, Southern Region Small Fruit Consortium IPM Guide has several of them listed. Cabrio, Abound, Pristine, Quilt XL, and Captan. You'll have to go to the IPM guide for rates, but those are the ones that are currently listed for cane blight. And you can find those more specific information there in that IPM guide. And I put that in the link in the chat, but I don't know where it went. I can put it somewhere again, maybe. Or you can Google Southern Region IPM Guide Caneberries, and it's there as well. It's up real.
The next
there's a second
question.
Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
There's a couple of questions, I think, about the Lineberger Guzman system. Someone's asking, are you using one cane per support wire? And then is their understanding that one primocane goes to both the lower and upper wires?
Correct. So you want to have those, lower wire, you want to have one cane going on each one of those in both directions. Same thing with the upper wire. So a lot of the public production guides have all those canes going up to the top wire. They've, after many years of experience, have found out that actually filling in that lower wire too, you really get a lot more light penetration and higher yields, and that full canopy fills up much nicer by doing that.
Thanks, Gina. This might be a good time for you to mention to the audience that this was recorded live a while back, but as of Sunday, we found out some really sad news about Mr. Ervin Lineberger. So I'll pass that over to you to maybe mention that to the audience.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So Ervin Lineberger has been a great friend to the caneberry industry, strawberry industry, muscadine industry for many, many years. About a month ago, he went into the hospital with COVID and has had suffered for that for a long time. And then on Sunday, unfortunately, he passed away. He was a great man. He was a great teacher. He worked with all the specialists. He was always open to research. And one of the great attributes of him was that he was always willing to share information, just like, here today. He was, a lot of growers, don't want to share information, but he was always out there trying to educate the specialists. I learned probably, a lot from him as I tried to teach him as well. So he was just a great person to share all that information. There is I'll share a link to his obituary if you'd like to check that out. And then they're going to have a celebration of life ceremony sometime in the spring. And then Amanda, actually, the other presenter here, had a podcast and interviewed him this summer too, so we can share that link with you to see what share his thoughts about the muscadine and the caneberry industry and some of his philosophy over time too. So that's about all I have to say right now. But give me a couple minutes, I'll recover, and if you have any more questions, I can answer those too. But it was a great loss.
I agree. This is a huge loss to the Blackberry community, the muscadine community, and definitely to all his friends and family. I know that was difficult, Gina. Thank you for updating the group on that sad news that everyone received on Sunday. So I'll give you a minute and I'll let Amanda answer a question. That was really difficult. Thanks, Gina. Sorry about asking you to do that, but people were putting in the chat box that they knew, and that since this was live, they wanted to update people. So thank you. Amanda, we have a question about altering the pruning strategies with the RCA channels. So do you want to address sort of the pruning techniques for RCA and how that is different from like a V system?
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. Thanks, Karen. So, yeah, you know, with the RCA, the original theory of how to train on that system was the idea that you would have a really wide plant spacing going down the row, and that you would take and select 2 to 3 primocanes and actually bend them horizontally so that they would grow from one plant to the next, and so that you would have kind of 5 feet of primocane bent going down the row. And then once the primocanes reached the next plant, you would tip those, and then the laterals would be released, and the laterals would grow vertically up and fill in the canopy or the trellis space. And this is part of the reason why when Gina was presenting and showing the data on how much more training time is required on the RCA, you know, those primocanes, as you bend them, naturally they want to grow back up towards the sun and go upwards. So you really have to be out there on a regular interval, you know, a couple times a week, pulling those primocanes back down and tying them with either clips or some kind of stretchy material to keep them growing horizontally to the next plant. I will comment that I know a lot of other growers have, you know, they use that method. It works very well, but it is very time intensive. And other growers are trying different methods, and we are starting to investigate some of those alternatives to try and see if we can identify ways to still use the RCA and get some of those benefits of having the entire plant canopy in a single plane, but reduce the labor costs of the traditional training method on the RCA.
Right. Thank you, Amanda. So it looks like that's all the time we have. So I want to thank both of you for your time, your expertise, and helping with this presentation today and answering most, I hope, all of the questions. We might have a few in the chat box that we didn't get to. Maybe we can still send off those answers to folks. It looks like people are already doing this, but I do want to remind you that if you're wanting to receive pesticide credits from this presentation, to sign out and then go to the audience chat box and type your first name, last name, and the states for which you are requesting credits. I see a couple of you have already started to do that. I also like to remind folks to go to the virtual trade show. So thanks again for your participation, and this concludes our presentation. So thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Karen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Amanda.